It's just a bummer. I would just like a modern patch or something. Just Sony, give me a reason to buy it again. But hearing that like Sony accepted it and then From Software turned it down, it just sucks because I'm like, man.
It makes me wonder, like, what was the situation with Demon's Souls? As far as remakes go, here's the story that I feel like we all kind of suspected might be sort of the case. We covered Bluepoint getting shut down by Sony, and that was the studio that remade Demon's Souls. And we were all like, why were they making a God of War multiplayer game when they could have just been remaking Bloodborne? And according to Bloomberg, that was pitched. That was the thing they floated. The popular belief is that Sony was the one who was getting in the way of this happening, but apparently it was From Software that didn't want this to happen, and which kind of lines up with, I feel like Miyazaki's said in the past that it's like his favorite thing that they did, and he would want to have like his involvement with it. And so an attempt was made, sort of, and it's not happening, and
it's heartbreaking. I mean, well, first, real quick, shout out to Jason Schreier and Bloomberg because he's been doing some amazing reporting recently. This sucks, right? Like, this totally sucks, and I think that like. What specifically sucks about this is that knowing it could have happened and then knowing that it didn't happen and Bluepoint had to pivot to something else and they no longer exist because that something else didn't materialize is a bummer. I think this story is the perfect example of why video games are a really interesting intersection of art and business, right? And this is what we talk about all the time. Bloodborne is an IP owned by Sony. Like, Sony went to FromSoft and said, make us this thing, right? And so it's basically like if I asked a contractor to build a house and then I wanted to, redo that house, refinance it and put new exteriors on it and stuff like that, I wouldn't have to go back to the original contractor for his blessing on that, right? I could just do it because I own that house. But with video games, it's kind of shitty to do that, right? And for one of the most important video game auteurs of our lives, who is still actively making new stuff, and for a company like Sony that will theoretically want to partner with him on stuff in the future, I completely understand why they went to the creator for his blessing on this one. He said no, and they backed off the whole thing. Again, the end result sucks because now we don't have a Bloodborne remake or remaster, and we don't have a Bluepoint. And FromSoft didn't say, oh, don't worry about that. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to do something ourselves. FromSoft, like, for all of the great things we say about them and their art direction and their games and their world building and all that stuff, one of their faults is their sort of technical limits, right? Like, I feel like a lot of their games run and they're not exactly the most optimized games when they come out, and getting them to go back and restore them and fix them up and patch them is really rare. Even with like the Dark Souls remaster, like when that first came out, like it was pretty rough around the edges, right? Like it took a couple of patches for them to get that where it needed to be. And Bloodborne's in one of those places. I love it. It's totally playable. I'm thinking about a replay now. Just knowing that I'm not going to be playing a remade version of it anytime soon is all the more reason to like fire up the old PS4 version, running it on PS5 at sub 30 FPS and all that stuff, and play the game because I think it's gorgeous and phenomenal. And ultimately, those things don't get in the way for me. But yeah, it's a crappy situation because like we lose Bluepoint, we lose the Bloodborne remake, and no one is making a Bloodborne remaster as we know about it. And so it's back to where it's always been with this project. It's the fans, it's the community, it's Shad PS4, it's people who have figured out how to like take this now 11-year-old game and get it running on a PC using legally obtained software, backed up copies. And cool that's an option, but like it just sucks, man. It just sucks all across the board. What else can you say?
I don't know, Nick, what else can you say?
It's just a bummer. Even if it's just like, I would just like a modern patch or something. Just Sony, give me a reason to buy it again. But hearing that like Sony accepted it and then From Software turned it down, it just sucks because I'm like, man.
It makes me wonder, like, what was the situation with Demon Souls? Like, how much involvement did FromSoft have with that? Was that a thing that they didn't like how it looked, or I don't know what's going on there.
It's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that game looks better than anything FromSoft's ever made, because FromSoft created the basis for it. And again, like I'll say it again, they're artistic wizards over there. Like they can make a PS4 game look better than a PS6 game just because they know how to make shit look really cool. Like their designs are incredible. Graphical fidelity wise, if we're just looking at that, if we're just looking at like textures, we're just looking at like number go up type stuff, Demon Souls Remake is one of the best looking games ever made. And it's stunning. The frame rate's like fantastic. Like that is a really good looking game. Like that was a really good reason to be like, oh yeah, you bought a PS5? Well, here's your treat, right? Like you get to look at this that wouldn't have been possible in the PS4. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that like someone at FromSoft saw that and was like, hey, don't do that to us because you're making us look bad. But like we can imagine what a Bloodborne remake would have looked like. And I don't necessarily even think that game does need a remake, but I wouldn't have turned one down. And again, if you're against that, you can always just play the original. So, which I guess we'll all have to do for the rest of our lives now.
I would settle for the most bare bones remaster that just ups the frame rate and cleans up whatever.
Yep.
The thing that I think a lot of people are holding out for, again, also just because this would help more people play it, would be a PC port. Put it on PC. Seems like a thing that might be good in the long run. It's one of the best games ever made. Maybe putting it on something that's sort of hardware agnostic would be cool. Put it out in the wild, let more people play it. Well, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon either, because Bloomberg's other big story that just broke this morning is that Sony is reportedly pulling away from its porting of PlayStation games to PC. This is going to probably kick off with Saros, and probably shouldn't expect Ghost of Yotei on there, Wolverine anytime soon. They actually don't mention Wolverine in the report. That one I feel like could be the outlier, because if there was paperwork drawn up between Marvel and Sony prior to Sony deciding they don't want to do a PC thing, and Marvel's like, hey, hold on a minute, how many sales are we leaving on the table here? That could be another thing. But basically, yeah, following several years worth of great PlayStation games getting ported to PC so they can reach a broader audience, Sony is supposedly kind of backing away from that and just focusing more on keeping things within the proprietary PlayStation ecosystem, which it's not hard to see how this makes sense in either direction, but I do feel like it's kind of a drag.
It's a drag, yeah. Complicated feelings on this one, because it's like ultimately you want everyone to be able to play video games, right? More people should be able to play more games, but also like it's rules for me and not for thee when it comes to some of this stuff, because I'm on a Nintendo show every week where I clap and cheer like a baby seal for a company that never does any of this, right? Like Nintendo never ports any of their stuff to PC. They put some of their stuff on mobile here and there, but it's just like it's like some shell version of Animal Crossing. And Sony's been a little bit more open about that recently. Microsoft's been totally open about that, but they're financially in a very different situation than PlayStation is. And so I think the cynical part of me worries that Sony's doing this because they know that they don't have a direct competitor in the next-gen hardware space in the same way that they used to, with Xbox sort of backing away from that and becoming a like multi-platform studio that occasionally launches hardware, rather than like a direct competitor in the console space. And so I think it kind of sucks if that's the reasoning behind it. My big question is like, what happens to Nix's, which is effectively like a support studio they've owned for over 25 years now, that has been working on numerous PlayStation products. They worked on Last of Us, and they worked on Ghost of Yotei. They've been porting PlayStation games to PC for like a really long time now. And they've seen a lot of success with some of that stuff. Predominantly, like Helldivers did really well. Ghost of Tsushima did really well. And so Ghost of Yotei coming to PC seemed like a slam dunk to me, and it's not happening. But we also found out that for all the games that they helped port that did well, there's a bunch that didn't. And so I don't know. It obviously it takes time and money and resources to make a game run on multiple platforms. But I also think their strategy was a little weird because they were always like, hey, here's a game from a year ago. And I feel like a lot of the excitement of playing something like that day one on PS5 is lost when all of that information, all those spoilers are already out there a year later. It reminds me of like what EA used to do, where they'd be like, hey, we're gonna put Nintendo games on we're gonna put games on the Wii like 2 years after they're on everything else, and they're gonna be like not as great, and people are like, why? And they're like, well, it didn't sell well. We tested the waters, and I guess it's a failure. And it's like, well, you didn't bring your A game, you know. Like you brought your leftovers of your A game, and that's kind of a bummer.
So one thing is worth calling out: this is for single player games.
Hey, thanks for watching this clip from Beyond, IGN's weekly PlayStation show. You can find the full episode over on youtube.com/IGN Games. And don't forget, new episodes of Beyond drop every Wednesday on IGN.com, the IGN Games YouTube, and all your favorite podcast platforms. Thanks again for watching, and as always, Beyond.